Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Live from Maharashtra, India, at the Govardhan Echo Village. This is Wisdom of the Sages, your daily yoga podcast. I'm your host, Raghunath, with my good friend and co-host, Kaustubha Das. And we got a special guest today. He was here 2 days ago, but he's still special. And he's one of our best friends, I think we can say also.
A little less special.
The second time is always
One
like,
show
we're
less
having cake
special.
again? Yeah, cake again. That's what you are. You're a big, sweet cake. And so we all love our friend Gauravani, world-renowned kirtan singer. And truthfully, he's one of my favorite kirtan singers. My favorite kirtan singers are people who grow up chanting the holy name. And you're one of them.
That's funny because I'm my favorite. No, I'm just kidding.
Hey, you're
I'm
one
my
of-
least favorite. Kirtan
No, you're one of our favorites. I can say it for sure, especially in the Capo household. You are played nonstop on various channels, YouTube, SoundCloud. We're just playing you all the time. It's good to have good soundtrack to life, and you are one of the. I don't have tons either. You're one of the few soundtracks in my life.
So kind.
Yeah, I mean that. And also he's a wealth of information. So first, if you're new to this show, welcome. If you like what we're doing here and you're already been around for a while, go to Apple Podcasts, give us a 5-star and a review, please. Helps our rankings, helps something. I will say this. We ranked number 8 in Japan for podcasts. Come on!
Not all podcasts.
Not all podcasts.
Religious and spiritual podcasts.
Religious and spiritual
All podcasts
Whatever.
in Japan.
Whatever. My wife is like, what?
Of all podcasts recorded during the hours of.
Yeah. Well, the weird thing is, we got the Californians on the show. We've got the Europeans. We've got the livers, the livers. We've got the others. I never knew we had the Japanese.
Yep, somehow we do.
Oh,
that's
it's a
not
Kiko. Kiko's behind this.
Maybe it's just a
Maybe
Kiko.
it's just a Kiko. No one listens to religion ones and spirituality except the Kiko. Anyway, we're cool. And if you all are if you're also new to the show, sometimes words just don't come out of the mouth.
Also,
if you're new to the show, this is our class on the sacred literature, Srimad Bhagavatam, 18,000 transcendental verses, especially.
We do them all every day.
Yeah, we just want to burn through them. The book is, we especially love this book for yoga teachers, for people who really want to understand yoga philosophy, and most of all, how to apply it to life, how to take that yogic wisdom and make it practical. And one way, according to the book itself, is you're hearing truth on a regular basis, and it keeps the car on track. Sometimes I want to just veer a little south. You know what I'm talking about? You want to veer a little south. Yeah, we're going to bring us back in line, especially when done in the community of others. That's why the Zoom group, we have a Zoom group that's listening live. We're low today. We're only at 40 on our Zoom. What's going on? You guys Zoom are on vacation? What day is it? Of the week is it?
Thursday. It's
Thursday.
Wednesday
All right,
evening.
they have no good excuse. Usually Sunday we give them a couple of, but I'll take full responsibility here. Our times are all over the place. We're changing them up. We're about to change it tomorrow for a morning. So I hope you enjoy these late night classes.
So why don't you go ahead and say what time it's going to be tomorrow?
What did we say?
Well, it's going to be 6 o'clock.
Wednesday evening here.
7:30 a.m.
7:30 a.m. Eastern time, Zoomers. And
that's on Friday morning.
their next day, basically. Their next one you're going to listen to. So anyway,
They say it's Wednesday there.
oh, we're lost.
Hell.
We're help.
It'll be Thursday morning.
So they get it 2 in a day? Is that how it works?
So we're not doing it here Friday morning. We're doing it only Friday evening.
We're doing
Yeah.
it Friday evening, so it should be
So their
Friday.
next show will be Friday morning.
Friday morning.
We should have had this thought out before we got
Their
live.
next show is Friday morning, so like they're missing Thursday entirely. All right, but they got.
But they get 2. They get 2. They
earlier.
get 2 today. They get 1 in the morning.
always works
They were
out.
going to wake up and they get another in the morning. Anyway, if you want to hear any of Goravani's music, just YouTube search or search anything. Go to the library and search Goravani, Gaura. Last name is Vani, Vani.
Mr. Das? I'm here to see Mr. Das.
I thought your name was Mr.
We're all
Vani.
Mr. Das!
I thought you were Mr. Vani. Goravani. And if you want to join our Zoom group, have any questions, if you're listening out there, just email our executive producer, Mara at wisdomofthesages108@gmail.com.
You guys are so professional. Let's give it up for Rago and Kostuba.
We
and
almost know
Mara.
what day we're on the air.
Yeah, we almost. Gora, we were having this ongoing conversation, which is it's worth mentioning. Me and Kostuba came to a time of our life frustrated in the material world, like this is over. And a lot of you guys can relate to that. You get to a certain point in your professional career, or maybe when you're a teenager, or in a midlife crisis, or sometimes even later than midlife, and you go, I'm done with material life. I want spiritual life. And you sort of make a cut from things. Sometimes a cut from people, sometimes a cut from habits, sometimes a cut from the workplace, and you sort of trade it all in for a whole new a whole new hand. Like I call it dropping the Scrabble pieces when you get a whole new set of Scrabble pieces. And so a lot of us went through that phase. Gora is on the other side of that, where he grew up because his parents were into bhakti. So his parents were 60s hippies or something. I mean, your mother joined an ashram when she was how old?
She ran away from home at 15 and moved to a group home in the south side of Chicago, which for like a young wealthy Jewish American kid was like complete nightmare for her parents.
Yeah, it's
my
every
mom
parent's.
is basically that person in Forrest Gump.
Imagine if your
My mom
15-year-old
is
daughter
basically
did
the girl
that.
in Forrest Gump.
What's that? I never saw what your mom was. What?
The girl who's like runs away from her family in Forrest Gump and like goes,
My
mom was old enough that she's kind of post-beatnik. She's kind of pre-hippie a little bit.
She's pre-hippie.
And then she ran off to San Francisco? Or?
Yeah, so then she was house sitting for someone in San Francisco because they had a big library. So she was just sitting there reading all the books in the library. My mom didn't go to college at all. Rodnath Swami joked last night, I only went to one semester of junior college, and that's more than Rukmini.
More than me, too.
But she met the first group of devotees that came to San Francisco and started a temple in San Francisco. In Haight-Ashbury.
About Shyamsundar.
Shyamsundar
Yesterday, I think.
Shyamsundar and Malati and Yamuna and those devotees.
Mukundas,
yeah. So then when they came back, Prabhupada, they had revoked Prabhupada's visa for America. So he was in Montreal at that time. So they came back on their way with this idea, we're going to go make the Beatles Krishna devotees. And
that was called. That's called
Ambitious.
Ambitious, yeah.
Well, it's called Ambitious now. It was probably called the Pipe Dream when they had, but my mom met Srila Prabhupada and didn't want to leave. And so she just stayed and they went to London.
So she could have gone to London.
Yeah.
But she stayed with Srila Prabhupada in Montreal.
Yeah.
Interesting.
But probably only just for a couple of weeks. And
the first thing Prabhupada said when he met my mom at 16 was, where are your parents? She was
Right? Where are your parents? Where were our parents? Why did our parents let us hang out on the Lower East Side?
I don't know.
What were they thinking? I would never let my kids go anywhere. You hear that, kids? You're not going anywhere. My two kids are listening to the show right now.
Don't join a cult, children.
We got to get Joshua Green on the show, Yogeshwar. He was one of these guys. He was traveling through Europe, and he visited a temple, like randomly visited a temple. And they're saying, hey, can you sing? He's like, yeah, I sing a little bit. He goes, because we're going to the Beatles recording studio to record a record. You want to come? He's like, yeah. It was so anyway, so Gora grew up with all this stuff. And it was just saying he was in Vrindavan because like in that mood of intense fanaticism. Now we're quite balanced. But I want to be more absorbed in it. But in the contemporary culture, no one's living. It's very rare for Westerners to move to ashrams. There's more communities of people. People have satsangs at their homes. They invite people over. It's much more like a balanced culture, but there's a beauty of the extreme. Like our buddy, our good friend Janeshwar. Janeshwar, where is he? Janesh is probably at Channing, but you know, he left home when he was 14 and put himself in the Mayapur Gurukul, which is like a school, like a boarding school also. And then the fruit of it, Janeshwar's an awesome, and he knows everything about everything. He knows thousands of mantras. I start saying some random mantra. Oh, yes, and he starts chanting it with me. I was like, how do you know that one?
Grew up in
Grew up in Mayapur Gurukul.
But the funny thing, though, is that you've given him a context to flourish, because if he had no Raghunath, he'd just be a random dude who knows lots of Sanskrit verses. Which is like, how do you make a living doing that?
I know. There's always dealing with the material world.
I'm just saying that this community is so important, because then someone like you who has the ability to share Janeshwar's knowledge, all of a sudden he's like, goes from being like basically can't survive to being like really important member of the community.
Well, yeah. By the way, he survives great because he lives above the cows. He just lives. It's just a different reality. It's not like if I said, "Hey, I got a career for you in New York. Give up your job. You're going to live above the cows." It's like that wouldn't fly. But with him, he's living in Mayapur. He takes care of the cows. He's like a professional photographer, but he still lives the life of sadhu. It's like he's walking out of the pages of the Mahabharata.
You know, part of the reason why the fanaticism is important, I touched on this a little bit yesterday.
By the way, when we say fanaticism, we don't mean like an extreme where you only like what you're into but hate everybody else. We mean like full absorption.
Enthusiasm.
Full absorption.
I mean, part of the reason why it's important is that until you have like what I call like a full cycle, it's broken. So you've got to have your energy to get you over the hump of whatever's missing. Here's an example. Cows, right? We have this idea. We hear the Govardhan eco-villages of fully ahimsa dairy, where like they're not there for milk. They're there because they're cows.
We just like them because they're cows.
And then they also give cow dung, and they do all these things. They help the community. The bulls are pulling things, and everybody's, and then it's not like you're just having a cow get pregnant so that you can steal her milk. It's like, cow's your mom. She has a baby, and, she's part of the community, and the baby boy's part of the, there's no slaughter. There's no.
Right.
So the dung becomes fuel, like the Govardhan Eco-Village is trapping methane and using the gas from the cow dung to power their stoves,
It's quite amazing, actually.
So all of a sudden, everything starts making sense. Everyone's helping, the humans are helping, the animals helping, and everybody's in harmony together. But you take one piece out of it, and it's like the system doesn't work. Milk's too expensive. It's like, the whole thing's just like chugging along, trying to. So
yeah, you got to slaughter the male cows.
You got to slaughter the male cows, and then the whole thing starts falling apart. And
we're not using male cows, so we're going to get tractors and hydraulics.
Like, I don't know if this is in the
Sure, let it run with it. Run with this.
Here's the thing that I asked. So I don't want to say who it was, but one of my friends who's a super duper strong vegan, really good buddy of mine, and I was pushing him because I was saying, just like humans have work to do in harmony with each other and with the world, animals have work to do in harmony with each other in the world. It's called a harmonic system, right? So like, if you take all animals out of the equation totally, then you have, we can't really build this building because we don't have the strength to do it. So let's get a giant machine sucking blood from the earth to lift this thing that an ox can lift easily.
I mean, excavators are not vegan. If you want to really look at,
they're destroying the planet, and you've got to maintain the oil culture to maintain the machinery to support. So I pushed him. He's like, well,
it's not only that you get into, and this is how the tractors first started. We're going off on a tangent. This is a good tangent because I think a lot of this spirituality stuff goes back to the earth. As soon as they introduced the tractor, farmers became in debt because they're like, here's what you could do with what you got.
That's
you could
good for the corporation.
You could do for anybody's loaning money. And you could do 5 times, 10 times more harvesting if you had a tractor. Forget your plow horses and your oxen. You need a tractor. And then once you get into tractor culture,
everything changes. You put everyone off of the farm and into the cities, working in factories to produce the tractors.
You got to keep that oil flowing. You got to keep those machines going. Yeah. We're serving the machines.
So it's a cooperative effort, a cooperative lifestyle, man, humans, animals.
So I'm pushing this friend of mine, and I said, look, okay, so let's totally take animals out of the equation. Where do we go? We can't do agriculture. We can't build, we can't. And basically he said, yeah, I think the earth should be rewilded, and I think we should all go back to the caves where we came from. That's what I think.
It's a
little bit nihilistic.
It's a well-intentioned sentiment, but it sounds to me like it's uneducated, like uninformed.
Well, so the wisdom of the sages is actually a place of harmony. It's like, they talk about how the earth is a middle planet, how higher and lower entities in realms we can't recognize want to come to the earth because lower realms is so much suffering that you can't keep your head straight to do spiritual life. And higher realms there's so much pleasure that you can't, no. So the earth is like got a good balance where you can hold it all together and practice spiritual life, but also like maintain some semblance of so there's like a harmonic system.
I keep it simple like this. I think it's healthy to have a symbiotic relationship. Here, I think people practicing bhakti who are into like dairy products, they have to really rethink that, and they really have to like think deeply about what's going on out there in the meat and dairy industry. And we're not indemnified just because we say Hare Krishna. We're part of that system if we're going to buy into that system, and it's ugly. It's dark. That being said, the hardcore vegans have to also see there's nothing wrong with a loving, symbiotic relationship with animals. My dog wants stuff to do. He doesn't want to sit around. He wants me to play fetch. He wants to learn how to retrieve.
Wants to go and get that stick and run.
He wants to get that. He wants to have significance. And if you hang out with animals enough, and my daughter will tell you, my son will tell you, the animals like to be doing stuff, and they like to be engaged. Like this whole year, I let my sheep just wander, and didn't. I can tell just from being with my sheep, they like a type of containment. Because they like to be shepherded. They like to feel like they're protected. And people say, no, they're naturally wild. They shouldn't be like that. I don't believe that. I think we have a different paradigm. We believe, and no one's sure of this. People like to speculate. But the Vedic paradigm isn't, we weren't all foragers and gatherers. The Vedic paradigm is there's always been agriculture. There's always been
that's why they call Sanskrit Devanagari, that it's a language gifted by higher beings.
There you go. It's been gifted it's from the city of the Devas.
Right.
It's the language from the city of the Devas.
Which is, for us, it's not, this is where, way out there, tangential stuff. But like you see these cities, these cultures, like how the heck did they build Machu Picchu? From the Vedic paradigm, it's like, well,
they did it all. We're not in evolved culture now. How did they build Levittown, Long Island? Should be the question. Why would they build Levittown, Long Island? These are like the first of the American planned communities, suburbs. But the real thing is, we are devolving species,
right?
And we're lost touch with the cosmos, with higher beings, right? No higher being wants to visit us here. At one time, you hear about connection with higher beings in cultures throughout the world.
Sometimes they come on pilgrimage. And they make fun of all the trash and stuff. They're like, Earth.
They're not even visited anymore. Who was that guy that wrote The Age of Myth? He spoke with Joseph Campbell. He wrote about a time called the Age of Myth, when cultures all over the world spoke of myth. Spoke about how there was communion with gods and higher beings and giving birth to a half god, half child. And it was almost like going around across the globe. So the theory is these were all crazy made up stories, fantastic stories. We were just reading that yesterday in the purport. These are fantastic stories. Before Buddha, there was just about, all these are just, there was just some phenomenon where the whole world was making up stories of higher beings. But the Vedas is saying, no, there was actually a time, there are higher beings, and they wanted to come to this planet, and people were of such a caliber, they wanted to have even relationship. We've just created just like a ghetto, and that planet Earth is a ghetto. No higher beings want to come. It's almost just like when I was growing up, no good person would want to go to Coney Island. But when my mother was growing up, Coney Island was like, that was the place, that was the resort, or Asbury Park in New Jersey. When I was a kid, no one would go to Asbury Park. It was a complete ghetto. But in the 50s, it was flourishing. There was Ferris wheels. It was a family place. We've created a planet devoid of spiritual truths, where the people that are practicing spirituality appear counterfeit again and again, and where there's so much corruption, degradation. It's just not attractive. It's one of those, where have we gone wrong? Don't you find yourself saying that on a regular basis? What have we done? What have we done to our planet?
Well, like something that we're at the Eco Village here, there's this beautiful Yamuna River.
By the way, we are at an eco village. If you're not picking that up yet by listening to these podcasts, we are at a sustainable village in Maharashtra in the middle of nowhere. There's sort of no escape here. We were joking yesterday how the students, like, when you're going through a yoga teacher training, stuff comes up. And sometimes if you're in a regular yoga teacher training in America,
get out of here.
I'm getting out of here. I got to go to Starbucks, think this through. What are you talking about? I'm not the body. This is nuts. Here, it's like, you're not going nowhere. We got you. There ain't no Starbucks for miles. For maybe.
Funny, why do we retreat to Starbucks? I mean, that's like such a funny thing.
You know what's really sad?
I got to go find myself.
I'm going to Starbucks. It was great. One year we had.
I know who I am. I'm a double half calf with a triple foam.
That's me.
Extra hot. That's who I am.
It's sad. You know what's sad? When real coffee cultures like Italy, Germany, or France, they have Starbucks now.
Sad.
That's sad. They started it. Look at poor Kostuba. Kostuba is just like, can we just read the Bhagavatam today?
Why are we talking about Starbucks?
This is,
He's like, why are we talking about coffee?
You know what? This is good. This is part of the conversation. This is the continuation of the Bhagavatam conversation. Even Maris.
Keep telling yourself that, Raghu.
I was telling my mom, she's like, well, what does Raghu do on his show? Is it about Bhagavatam?
I'm trying to divert it from the Bhagavatam. Maybe I am Maya. All right, people, ready? Let's dive into this. And guess what? Everybody here went to Starbucks. I know it. We were in Bombay because I was with them. But we did, anyway. We had a kirtan Starbucks.
Stop talking about Starbucks. Stop it.
Narayanam namaskritya naram chaiva narottamam.
What a transition.
Before reciting the Srimad Bhagavatam,
and after speaking about
Starbucks for half an hour,
which is the very means of conquest, one should offer respectful obeisances to the personality of Godhead Narayan, unto Narayan Rishi, the supermost human being, unto Mother Saraswati, the goddess of learning, and to Srila Vyasadeva, the author. Nasta prayeshva badreshu nityam bhagavat sevaya bhagavati uttama shloke bhaktir bhavati naistiki. By regular attendance in classes on the Bhagavatam and by rendering service to the pure devotee, all that is troublesome to the heart is almost completely destroyed, and loving service to the personality of Godhead, who is praised with transcendental songs, is established as an irrevocable fact. Om Jnana Timurandasya Ananjana Salakaya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. I still think it's fascinating how parents drop their kids off in India and send them to boarding school. It takes truth. It sounds crazy, but it's one of those spiritual crazies. And sometimes there is some culty Krishna crazy, and you were part of it. And I find it interesting, fascinating. And truthfully, at our vantage point right now, I'm completely impressed by it. At the vantage point then, it must be like this crazy, tragic.
Well, I look at it like you got to be on this side of making the decision to always remember Krishna and push towards Krishna. I think you can't force someone to remember Krishna. And I think that was like a little bit of what was lost. You know, people had this idea that if they just took away everything material, that their kids would somehow or other be saints. But they forgot that, like, we're our own jiva souls with our own, like, trips and why we're here. And we've got to discover Krishna for ourselves. So, you know, here's my kid.
She's turned out pretty good.
This is my 13-year-old. I have two others. I have an older one.
Is she in the picture there? Yeah.
Kairava.
Yeah, there she is. Move a little closer to Dad.
And,
My kids are watching.
15, 13, and 10. Say hey to Sachi.
Hi,
Rocco.
Sachi. Hi, Rocco.
Tarun, you out there? We ate your birthday cake without you.
He's on the airplane right now.
So I have no idea if I'm doing it right, but I worry sometimes that I'm not giving them enough Krishna. But I don't want. I had like the rubber band effect. My parents like pulled me so hard to Krishna that I was just like, as soon as I could,
I'm out of here.
Snip, and I was like,
Yeah, look where you ended up. Back here with a turban on. Yeah. You can't figure out how to raise kids. Can't figure that out. It's just like there's books on it. There's different theories of how to do it, but all you can do is like, here's what I say. You become very spiritually conscious and loving, and that's going to affect everybody around you.
yeah, well, that's what draws us all to Radhanath Swami. Because
Bringing it home. Thank you.
Because Radhanath Swami basically, well, he's even told me this. Like, he's like, after I've given someone my heart, I'm never going to take it back from them. So basically, he's never going to see the bad quality. He's going to always see the good quality. He's going to always look for what he can encourage in you and find, and I think that's what it takes for all of us to really make spiritual progress. A community around us. You wanted to say something, Chris?
Well, I was going to say, what specifically?
Well, I think like Radhanath Swami is super wise. He's a really smart guy. He's a wise sage, but he chooses to put the emphasis on the good that he sees in someone else.
That's his wisdom playing out. It's not only kindness, but it's practical as well. Like
applied spiritual wisdom and kindness.
Yeah.
I think a fanaticism which manifests from kind of enthusiasm that's kind of, mixed with other stuff. Fear plays a part in fanaticism.
I'm also going to throw in, there is something about being around like the acharya, person who's like, when you step back historically and see the moves Radhanath Swami's guru has done,
Srila
Prabhupada, it's going to be quite, the culture shifted. And it's even hard to believe. I mean, things like veganism or animal rights, this is in the conversation. It was in the conversation. When we got into Bhakti, India was not in the conversation of anything, right? There was no, vegetarianism was not in the conversation. It was a weird bunch of misfits who might be vegetarians.
Yeah,
you couldn't get a veggie burger. You'd get some
Burger King. Let's just mark this moment in history. Burger King has a vegan burger.
And it's doing huge.
Yeah.
And it's doing huge.
Can I tell you a funny story about the Beyond Meat thing?
Sure. Yeah.
This guy.
Thank God I'm not the only diverter now. Porco Stew was like, ah!
I thought you were like, it better be funny though.
It better be.
So this guy started one of the, in Washington, D.C., there wasn't a lot of, still only a few vegetarian restaurants. So this Korean guy had.
You're saying now?
Now even.
Okay.
Really?
But yeah, not that many. It's just
what's that
like
place
last
we used
2
to
years.
go to? What's that place we used
Last
to
2 years, there's more than there was before. But DC is a kind of a funky town, like it's got a lot of political stuff and weird, energies. So it's just started to be like an option, really. New York, of course, has like 1,000 incredible vegan places. So anyway, this guy had one of the early ones. It was called Java Green. So he started another restaurant, wanted more sit down. He said that a little more fancy, and it started just going south and like bleeding money. And someone gave him the advice, they're not going to go after you if you don't pay your whatever tax because they see you're struggling to keep your business alive, and they're not going to like tear your business down. Wrong advice, completely in debt. The whole thing folded. But in the midst of it, when he had money, he gave someone a few $1,000 to encourage them in their vegan meat business that they were starting, Beyond Meat. And so he's now couch surfing with no money, living out of a car, doesn't like whatever, has nothing. And some guy finds him and says, hey, we've been trying to track you down. You have stock in the company because you gave us starter money and you let us use your kitchen to help develop the, whatever. And our company's now called Beyond Meat. And, we want to buy out your stock if you'd be willing to sell. He's like, I don't know. How much is it worth? Like $2 million.
Hold on to it. Don't sell.
No, he did. So anyway, he's doing interesting stuff.
Good story. Good story. That was a good story.
Yeah.
That was good.
I don't ever like Raghu's ending is always like,
It's all about the structure of the story, but that was a good story. Okay, let's read the Bhagavatam. What do you say? This is good. Chapter 4, the appearance of Sri Narada. First canto, Srimad Bhagavatam, chapter 4.
New chapter.
Text 1. On hearing Sutta Goswami speak, Shanaka Muni means like a thinker, a sage, not to be confused with Reverend Sung Young Moon Moonies. Okay. No one even knows who that is anymore. That's not even in the conversation. Only I know. Come on. No one knows. All right. Thank you, Tom. You're old too. On hearing Sutta Goswami speak, Shanaka Muni, who is elderly, learned scholar of all the rishis, engaged in that prolonged sacrificial ceremony, congratulated Sutta Goswami by addressing him as follows. So here's Sutta Goswami speaking to the head of all these sages at this big spiritual function. And his name, the head of the sages, was Shanaka. Shanaka said, "O Sutta Goswami, you are the most fortunate and respected of all those who can speak and recite. Please relate to us the pious message of the Srimad Bhagavatam, which was spoken by the great, powerful sage Sukadev Goswami." Text 3. In what period, at what place was this begun? And why was it taken up? From where did Krishna Dvaipayana Vyas, so that was the name of this author, the author that's speaking about what's going on. Krishna Dvaipayana. Dvaipayana means he was island born. There's a whole interesting backstory. Maybe Mara could put down her knitting and find the backstory. I'm just kidding, Mara. Mara, we love Mara. We just like we tease her about private school on a regular basis. She's captain of the,
It's back.
what is it? Captain of the cross-country team. No, not cross-country. No, field hockey. Co-captain of the women's field hockey team. Debate club, chess champion. Okay.
and now she's sharing Bhagavatam with the world.
Yeah. Find out why they call him Dvaipayana Vyas. It's a good story about it. All right.
You might remember I spoke about Dvaipayana Vyas 2 days ago.
Did you?
Wipey. It's like the
Oh,
terrible.
Dvaipayana. Bad devotee nicknames.
Yes, exactly.
Vyasa's son was a great devotee, an equibalanced monist, whose mind was always concentrated in monism. Monism means what? An impersonalist?
In the impersonal aspect of the absolute truth, the
Okay.
divine light.
Sukadeva Goswami was a monist?
Originally, then he heard Bhagavatam.
Oh, okay. He was transcendental to mundane activities, but being unexposed, he appeared like an ignorant person. Want to explain about Sukadeva Goswami's
He's unexposed.
fashion?
In other words, what this chapter is, chapter 1 was questions by Shaunaka to Sutta Goswami, and chapters 2 and 3 were the answers to those questions. Now we're back to questions being put before
Right.
Sutta again, and these are questions that are going to set up the rest of the whole first canto. Tell me about Sukadeva Goswami.
Basically, tell me about your guru. Tell me what he was like. How did you hear from him?
That's where he's starting, and so it's saying that Vyasadeva, the author of all the Vedic literature, his son is the person that's going to speak Bhagavatam. That's who Sutta Goswami heard it from. And these questions are setting the stage so that we can understand who is Sukadeva Goswami. And he's this very fascinating character. He's the son of Vyasadeva himself. And he's just like
Vyasadeva, who is the incarnation of Krishna, a Shaktavesh incarnation of Krishna, who compiled all the Vedas.
Yeah, Shaktavesh means that he's not Krishna himself, but he's got the power of
He's
Krishna.
a human imbued with the power of the Lord.
And so he has this son, Sukadev. And he's saying he's unexposed. In other words, he's incredibly deep spiritually, but he looks like he's crazy.
Transcendental to mundane activities, being unexposed. He appeared like an ignorant person.
He's naked. He looks confused.
People thought he was dumb.
Yeah, but he's actually incredibly deeply absorbed. But at this point, he's deeply absorbed in the impersonal feature of God.
You guys all know the impersonal, about the impersonal and personal features of. You guys have discussed that, right?
We've discussed it, and we have 3 groups. So some groups it's definitely been discussed, and others maybe not as much. And of course, for our
Three
live
aspects
audience,
of the divine that are most easily perceivable.
yeah, there are 3 aspects, and that was mentioned earlier back in the 2nd chapter, Brahman, Paramatma, Bhagavan. That there's you could say that all-pervasive spiritual energy.
That holds all things. When people say, how could there be anything but God? Therefore, I'm God, you're God, we're all God. That's Brahman. Energy, there's nothing but God energy in all directions.
And there's a logic to believing that that must be the very highest absolute thing. And anything that's not that must be material, must be
Or in some way
illusion in some
tinged,
sense.
right, by illusion. Or
And the Bhagavatam is going to make the point again and again and again that no, that's one aspect of the absolute truth.
One
But
aspect.
beyond that, there's the localized aspect of the absolute truth within the heart of every living being, and that's called the Paramatma.
So basically, if you're looking at anything that has any life, how could it have life if there wasn't a spark of God animating that
Yes.
body?
So that would be every plant, every animal, every human being.
Okay, hold it. Hold the phone. This just in from Quora.com. Ever go to Quora? I never use it. But Mayor, I prefer Wikipedia. This is better. So Parashara, the father of Vedic Jyotish, Vedic astrology, where we get the Hara Shastra, where we get the horoscope from. You know that? Horoscope comes from the Hara Shastras.
I didn't know that.
Interesting, isn't it? Not to be
Okay.
confused with horror.
I was going to say, it's just a really bad,
It's horrible.
a horoscope.
Horror movie.
Oh my God. Never mind.
We got to that point where we're telling dad jokes now. Okay. But anyway, Parashara was crossing a river. And who was the boat person? Satyavati. Because her father was king of the fish, if you read the Mahabharata. So Satyavati. And Satyavati smelled like fish. Right? Smelled like fish.
She was
Father was
super
a
beautiful, incredible, wonderful,
Kind, all good qualities. But
Her father was a fisherman.
so she just smelled like dead fish.
smell like dead fish. That's what happened. You live in a fishy household. So Parashara was very pleased with this.
This place is fishy.
Fishy. Do people say that anymore? Something's fishy. So anyway, Parashara's crossing the river, and he sees, and he really appreciates this young girl. She's quite lovely and very kind, and he wants to give her a benediction. And he says, "Would you like a child?" And he's an old man, and she didn't quite know that to me, but he had some mystical impregnation. He gave her a child. He took away her smell, so she smelled sweet and fragrant. And he cloaked the boat with like a cloud, and then she gave birth on an island. He said, "Your child will be incredibly powerful and wise." And he's called Dwaipayana because he was sort of illegitimate. And I think she had a dark complexion. So he had a dark complexion. Krishna, Dwaipayana means island born. Vyas, the editor. That's the story. Sort of interesting. Everyone's like, continue, Raghunath. Continue or make us laugh. But we're doing nothing.
It is interesting because of Vyasadev's. It is interesting that how he was born that way, because it's connected to his role in the birth of the Kuru princes. Also, it's interesting how.
Well, part of that benediction was, and I forgot that, when he came, even at a young age, he's told his mother, "I'm leaving, but I will call whenever you meditate upon me."
Whenever you're thinking of me, I'm coming. It's just you just think of me, I'll be there.
That's like a song for your solo
I'll be
album.
there.
All right, continuing on. Text 5. While Vyasadeva was
But
following
it's interesting. Sorry, but it is interesting because, without context, like the way he basically impregnates the Kuru princesses, because
Bhishma refuses to have children.
Because
we're
their husbands had died.
their husbands said right because they're so.
Yeah.
I'm just saying it's fascinating how because you hear the story, you're like, why would he do that? But it's like, well, he also understands how he was born in a way that was irregular and kind of out of form, but it's still, so he's like
A lot of irregular births in Mahabharata,
Yeah.
which is
Which we can relate to in Kali Yuga. We've got a lot of illegitimate births.
Duryodhana's argument when Karna first appeared and he was.
Hmm.
The Pandavas were questioning, well, we don't even know who this person is.
Right.
You had quite a few unusual births in your family.
There you go. If you haven't read the Mahabharata, we're going to encourage you to read the Mahabharata.
after we get through
it on
the
Audible.
18,000 verses,
first we gotta
Wisdom of the
get you
Sages is going to move to Mahabharata.
It moves quicker, the Mahabharata. Okay. While Sri Vyasadeva was following his son, the beautiful young damsels who were bathing naked covered their bodies with cloth. Although Srila Vyasadeva himself was not naked, but they had not done so when his son had passed.
You guys catch that? So somehow or other, the simplicity of Sukadev didn't cause the ladies to feel at all shy. He was just like,
Sukadev was walking around.
He kind of left home. He's running or walking in any case,
and Vyasadeva is trying to
but trying to bring him back.
get his son. Yeah.
So there's a bunch of girls bathing in the river.
He's just naked, walking, as they say, clothed in the four directions.
Yeah, and he's just naked, and the women didn't even bother with him because he was so like, I mean, ladies know when there's creepy guys. But wait, that's a bad analogy because Vyasadeva wasn't creepy.
True. But in any case, they could sense.
But ladies do know when they're creepy guys.
They could sense his innocence. It was like a child.
Yeah, that there's no lust in him.
Ladies have like a creeper intuition. What do you think?
Well,
Ladies, what do you think?
I think the point is, I think
Am I a creep? Just checking. You never know. You could be. Now, is it uniform? Do like all women think like that is definitely a creep? Or there's or each woman has their own unique
I
creeper
imagine some of
creeper
them,
compass.
Some of them, the creeper radar is not quite functioning properly.
it's interesting. It's interesting
radar.
how, yeah.
Creeper compass.
So, but somehow or other, they didn't feel at all disturbed when Sukadev walked by. When Vyasadeva came,
Who was a great saint.
who was a great saint, they felt shy and they covered themselves.
Yeah. Okay. So that's what's
the
going
next
on.
verse goes.
The sage inquired about this, and the young ladies replied that his son was purified when looking at them and made no distinction between male and female. But the sage made such distinctions. Isn't that interesting?
It
is
wasn't that he
interesting.
was creepy, but he just made those distinctions.
He made distinctions. This is an important point because I think sometimes people like to come off like, I'm above male and female. I'm above. Until you're actually a liberated soul, you're not above the drives of your body. So therefore, there's a type of...
There's that great sage who his meditation was broken simply by watching fish copulating under the water.
Happened to me! Happened to me! I'm serious, man. This happened to me.
You're meditating under the water? You're
No.
calculating?
First of all, I didn't even know he was meditating under the water.
No, it's just an embarrassing story, but I'm going to tell you. I'm going to tell it because you got to understand. Oh, I don't want to tell the story. My kids are watching. Anyway, I'm going to tell it. I became a monk. A new young monk in my 20s. Control the mind, control the thoughts, pull it in. And I was doing pretty good until I walked out of the Radharaman temple and saw two monkeys just having sex right in front of my face. And it just brought up all these dark thoughts. I want to, yeah, that's what I'm talking about. He put it was like pornography. It was pornography, practically speaking, and it disturbed me. And I thought about that sage who saw the fish having sex. But I think monkeys having sex is much more graphic than fish. Now we have to think about that. But anyway, the point is,
so
the mind's got to be controlled. The mind, whenever it goes to somewhere dark, we got to be able to catch the mind. This is the problem with materialism. There's no parameters for the mind. We entertain thoughts in the mind. We're like,
it's an interesting point.
We can't do that. We got to hold it, pull it back.
We have this thing where we think that honesty somehow or other supersedes any other quality of like self-control. Well, at least he's being honest.
No, wrong.
Yeah.
Don't be honest.
Can I
Control your
tell you
senses.
something that really
No,
bothers me?
Be honest, but
It's part of it. Honesty is part of it, but it's not the only thing. It's not like you can do whatever you want if you're honest. Like, you
no
know,
way. That would let room for all types of. I murder, but I'm honest about it.
Right, right, and a lot of spiritual teachers get away with murder because their students are like, oh, but he's always been like that. That's how he's, he always sleeps with his students.
Yeah, that's the rascal.
Wait, no, like why? What? Why is that okay?
Why you got so many hang-ups, man?
Right, and that's the thing that
He's
really,
just being himself.
People are learning yamas and niyamas, right? Discretion, which you can also call judgment, and then it's like, no judgment, man. No judgment.
But he just had sex with all of his students. Here's what we
He's
say.
intoxicated.
Here's what we say on the
He's
show.
giving lectures intoxicated, on the Vyasa-san, or he's, I don't want to like be mean to a specific set, but there's certain kind of religious groups that feel that it's like, oh, in our tradition, as long as there's honesty, it's okay. It's called crazy wisdom. It's like, no, it's just called crazy.
It's called crazy.
Yeah.
Well, we say, like, you need that type of judge, even when you're buying avocados, is what I say. You buy avocados. I can't hold up these avocados like, okay, I'm going to eat an avocado today. And Costume comes up behind me, hey, don't judge. But I want to eat it today. You got to judge. You got to use this, but we don't call it judgment because it's such a bad word. It's a taboo word. It's the J word. You got to say discern.
Right.
We discern, but we don't condemn. So if the teacher's acting crazy and doing nefarious things, you discern. That's what makes a good student. You discern, you call it out. You publicly call it out. You don't let it continue for years. You publicly call it out, and you train your discernment by studying sacred literature, and then you don't condemn. Like, I appreciate all that person has given me, but I'm moving on. That's what you do. It's called, you don't judge, but you discern, and you got to discern. That's part of being intelligent. That is intelligence. That's actually buddhi. What do you think about that, Kastuba?
I agree.
I'm finding myself saying all day long, what do you think about that, Kastuba? Matter of fact, I was talking to Mogi yesterday. I said, what do you think about that? And she goes, Kastuba.
It's interesting. I was reading Teachings of Lord Chaitanya. Actually, I was listening to Teachings of Lord Chaitanya. There's this website that's an app called Bhaktivedanta Vedic Library, which has a devotee named Damodar reading Prabhupada's books. So if you want them on audio, you can download them.
Right.
So if you want them on audiobook, you can listen or stream or whatever. So now there's an app called BVL, My BVL. You can get it from the App Store. So I've been listening to Prabhupada's books and Teachings of Lord Chaitanya. Prabhupada's talking about how if you add bhakti, you can get results. But if you do the same thing without bhakti, the example he gave, which was so visual for me, is an empty husks of wheat, banging them to try and get wheat. Like, it used to be there, it's not there. And Prabhupada said, all you're going to get is lots of trouble. So it's interesting. So this discernment thing, like on the wrong way, this is a little bit of a subtle point, but I think it's an interesting, important point. Prahlad Maharaj didn't see the difference between friend and enemy because he had bhakti in his life. He saw no difference between friend and enemy. So Hiranyakashipu, some of you may know the story, is torturing his 5-year-old son. He's threatened by him.
Trying to kill him.
He's trying to kill him, but he doesn't want to do it himself because he's like, some level of family attachment. So one of the things he does is he throws Prahlad in this pit of poisonous snakes. But because Prahlad, just
That was
like,
probably a type of torture.
it was a torture. It was a
Poisonous snakes.
Yeah, that was the most famous torture
poisonous
place in Hiranyakashipu's kingdom. They would watch someone just be basically poisoned to death by the snakes. So they throw Prahlad in there, and Prahlad, because he doesn't see the distinction between friend and enemy, the snakes just think he threw another snake in. So they just see Prahlad as one of their brothers.
Almost like these ladies when they saw Shukadeva Goswami.
Right. So just like these ladies, they didn't feel like these ladies were bathing together naked and they weren't shy because they were friends and whatever. And then Sukadev comes and they didn't feel shy because they didn't get any vibe from him of anything except friendship.
Somehow it was very profound. His presence that way.
One of the Zoomers has a good question. I think we should field it. She's here live. She's usually one of the others, but sometimes on. Actually, I don't know if I want to call her another. Because other is like a second class. It's not second class to be another.
We love the others.
We love the others. She asked this question. Can I ask what's the difference? Can I ask what the difference is and how you differentiate between suppression and controlling your senses?
Interesting.
Got a good one for that? Let's ask our special guest.
Well, I think this ties back into the point you were talking about fanaticism in some way. Do you understand where I'm going with that? Like if you're honest with yourself and you're trying to make honest spiritual progress, to put yourself in the stretch zone is not suppression.
Sure.
Right? Like I think this is also an interesting thing. Like these days we have this idea of repressing the senses, that somehow or other by repressing the mind and the senses that we're being dishonest with ourselves. So that's why it's okay that this teacher was sleeping with students, because he was just being honest, right?
By the way, he's going back to this whole thing about sleeping with your students because it's such a phenomenon historically forever, whenever, especially with males.
Because anything, but it's a classic thing.
It's at professors at Harvard, and it's just a common thing.
But it could be about money, or it could be some other one of your senses that's inflamed. The point is, it could be about pride. It could be about fame. Whatever it is, we all have these things. So the reason why I'm bringing back the teacher is to say, like, okay, I'm struggling, but he's supposed to have reached a certain level of spiritual understanding. So like it's a more extreme example. So if the teacher doesn't control his senses, there's really negative side effects for the people who are the students, right? So is it suppression for him to not, I want to be honest, so I'm going to sleep. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, I believe it. There's this statement in the Bhagavad Gita, what will repression accomplish?
Right.
In the 3rd chapter of the Bhagavad Gita. Now,
Interesting.
I think people often misinterpret that.
That I shouldn't repress my sense.
Yeah, shouldn't repress myself.
Shouldn't control my sense to even try.
What Krishna was saying to Arjuna, he was actually, rather than giving him freedom to do whatever you want with that statement, he was actually using that statement to show that you're a warrior by nature, and you have duties according to that, and you should perform those duties.
Right.
And so
a nature that's in harmony with your higher self.
So that's the point. In other words, this you mentioned about, it was Saubhari Muni, right? He was a great mystic. He goes under the water. He can meditate under the water. So he's quite accomplished.
It's pretty good.
But even that person, his senses, he loses control of his senses. In my mind, that this is what this is supposed to illustrate. That even someone who can meditate under the water, even just seeing 2 fish having sex, he lost it.
He gets out of the internal and goes to the external.
And so the point is that particularly in the Kali Yuga, that the yogas that are recommended are the yogas that engage the senses rather than the yogas of seclusion and solitude and not engage.
Such a nice point. Such an elegant point. I like that word elegant too, because Krishna consciousness is so elegant. Like there's a way that everything just fits together so beautifully. Yeah. So use the senses and offer them to the Lord through your service, through your, engage the senses.
I think I was lucky in the ashram because, I'm a guy that's really out there in the world, but my service was after a while, I started doing music in service. So it was, for me to be a brahmachari, to be a monk, it was actually quite easy. I didn't feel like I suppressed anything.
Until you saw those monkeys.
Until I saw those damn monkeys. Monkeys, I wrestled with it. I dealt with it. It didn't throw me that far off track. Okay. Just that visual of the monkeys. It's still in my brain. Still trying to get that thing out of my brain.
I had a funny thing happen one time. Oh, sorry. I don't want to
saying that the suppression thing.
I was at a retreat with Radhanath Swami once. This is a funny story. I was at a retreat with Radhanath Swami once in Washington, and this is such a funny thing. And he was playing harmonium, and I was sitting next to him. So I was like sitting next to Radhanath Swami. He's here, I'm here, and there's like a group of people. And Radhanath Swami starts playing the harmonium, and he's playing Hare Krishna, you know. But he kept hitting the wrong note. This is the very beginning of the kirtan, very beginning. It's totally silent, and he's like, you know, he did his opening prayers, and then he's like, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. Everyone's just sitting like this, and I'm sitting there thinking, okay, I know exactly the note that I'm sitting next to Maharaj. Like, I know exactly the note that Maharaj, and he just needs to get going. Once he gets going, he's just forgetting the melody. So I'm like, what should a good disciple do? Should I just sit here and wait for Maharaj to struggle through this thing? What's more of service? For me to just lean over and tap the note, or for me to just sit here and let Maharaj struggle? Which one? Is that prideful? Is this, I'm just like, I love Maharaj. I'm just going to do whatever from my heart. I just reached over and I tapped the note. Super awkward. I tapped the note. Maharaj he didn't look up. He just hit the note and started singing the kirtan, right? Just smooth. So the whole time I'm thinking, like, you know, what am I doing, you know? So then, so it was like, I couldn't tell if it was mixed, my attempt to serve. It was like mixed with pride. What was going on?
Right.
So I'm sitting there after the kirtan, and the Radhanath Swami gives this beautiful lecture, and at the end, someone says to him, what if someone is trying to do their service, but it's causing disharmony for others? Someone trying to do their own dharma is causing a disharmony for others, and people saying that, you know, them trying to do their service is actually troubling them. You know, what should we do? Should we keep doing our service? Should we stop doing our service? And Radhanath Swami said, well, just like, for example, what if someone is a kirtan leader?
Okay.
This is a group of like 90% non-Krishna devotees. Like, I'm the guy, I'm the only kirtan leader that I'm there. I'm the one sitting next to him. And he says, and say, for example, that when he sings kirtan, he does it mostly to attract the opposite sex.
Okay.
I'm just sitting there, I'm like,
Where are we going with this, Maharaj?
I'm just me, Radhanath Swami right there. I'm sitting up in front with him. And then he says, still he should continue leading kirtan, because by doing that service, he will become purified of those desires and eventually reach the next level.
Okay.
So I found that very beautiful and elegant.
It was quite elegant.
Just keep engaged.
And you're quite elegant, I have to say. Bob, move your head there.
Say Haribol. Say Haribol.
Everybody head bob right now. Hey, this is our last show at the Govardhan Echo Village. Thanks everybody listening to us on the podcast. It's been wonderful. Join us tomorrow.